recall you were asked, I think Dr. Jacobs, you were asked about your test that approved what standard you recall that question?
Yes.
And you were also asked questions about what would you have done? What do you believe a reasonable manager would do? You recall those questions?
Yes.
Ultimately, is it the commission who will determine what the appropriate standard to be applied to with respect to improvement?
That's correct.
And similarly, is it your understanding that ultimately it will be the commission to determine whether or not the company is acting prudently or imprudently?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you were also asked a number of questions that were prefaced by the statement that words are important. Do you recall those questions?
I do.
And I believe it's correct, isn't it? Some of those questions related to your testimony as to what Mr. Day said in the certification here.
Yes.
And can we all agree that words are important?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you recall at the certification proceeding that it was company witness Burleson who testified that the company would not be a passive manager? Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you also recall that similarly Burleson testified that the company would in fact be an active manager?
Absolutely. That's correct.
And it's also, I believe you testified, haven't you, that the company also said that they would get the schedules for the project from the consortium?
Yes.
And is it also you understand that the company said that they would review those schedules?
Absolutely.
It's also you understand that the company said that they would hold the consortium available, or rather accountable for their schedules. All right. I believe Mr. Greene and Mr. Baker also asked you some questions regarding INHO principle number 4. Do you recall those?
Yes.
And I believe you were asked, or do you recall the question whether INHO had the ability to sanction or fine a utility for noncompliance with those principles?
That's correct.
And I believe you answered, didn't you not, that INHO didn't have any such authority?
That's correct.
In your opinion, however, would noncompliance with an INHO standard be a factor that this commission might consider in any future proceeding with respect to improvements? All right. I believe you were also asked some questions about, you were asked some questions, recall those questions regarding the forecast of CODs and the panel's disagreement with respect to those CODs. I call those questions. All right. Can you again remind us why the staff has not given an estimate? You disagree, don't you? You've said that those forecast of CODs cannot be met in your opinion. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Can you again remind the commission as to why the staff has not given an estimate, its own estimate of what those commercial operating days might be?
Simply put, we don't have IPS to base any CODs on, any COD dates on. It's missing.
In addition to that, if consortium identifies mitigation efforts, it'll be difficult to know how effective those measures will be in terms of bringing the date back.
Finally, at the very beginning of the afternoon or morning, actually, you were asked questions by commissioners regarding what your recommendation is in this proceeding, why in fact you're talking about improvements at all. So let me ask you a couple of questions to clarify if I can. Of course, you are both aware of the stipulation that was adopted by the commission at the APCM with respect to improvements, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And that stipulation reserves the right of the staff to raise improvements issues at a later date, is that correct?
Yes.
And just to clarify again, aren't you making any specific recommendations regarding improvements or disallowances in this case? Regarding disallowances in this?
Absolutely.
And you've also testified, haven't you, in response to questions from Mr. Greene, that the company is in fact, staff rather, is in fact recommending verification and approval of costs for the reporting period.
That's correct.
And in this context, what is your understanding of what it means when the commission verifies and approves costs?
Essentially that, which is what we've done as well, is that the costs have been spent on the project and that they can verify that they've been spent on the project.
Does a commission order verifying and approving these costs include any finding of improvement?
It does not.
All right. Now, why was it, if you're not making a recommendation with respect to disallowance, why was it important to raise the IPS issue in this case?
Well, for one reason, it's our job, quite frankly. I mean, we're here to inform the commission. If we see actions or inactions that, maybe Dr. Jacobs should answer this question. He's infinitely more experienced, that we believe run counter execution of this project and possibly, his improved behavior. And that's one of our functions. I mean, we're not here to just sit idly by and talk about what's happened in the last 6 months. We're here to take a hard look at the information we have.
And we need to bring those up in real time as we see them, so that you reflect the argument, well, you're using hindsight, you didn't bring that up when it was occurring, so why are you bringing it up now?
So you view this as generally part of your role, both as a construction monitor and staff, to alert the commission as to issues as you see them arise every 6 months?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I think, Dr. Jacobs, you might have said in response to a question from a commissioner that this was the first time that this issue of prudence or imprudence with respect to the IPS was raised. Do you recall that question?
Yes.
And this is in fact the first time that you have addressed this issue in pre-file testimony. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Do you recall whether or not this issue has come up in a prior proceeding?
Yeah, well, I'm reminded it came up in the 6 BCM proceeding. There was a discussion about prudence of not having an IPS, and I said it's probably not prudent not to have an IPS at that time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. I would ask that staff exhibits 1 and 2 be entered into the record.
Commissioner.